This week on Pivot with Purpose, give us a little bit about who you are, what got you here.
So essentially, I'll jump in kind of where you found out about narcissism, because a lot of people in the community found out about it the same way. Thought they were just in a relationship that may be troubled, not knowing that they had somebody that was intentionally doing them wrong. And I was like, okay, this is exactly what I'm going through. I got to cut ties and get going.
We're not going to blow past the fact that you married the same person twice. Hey friend, you're listening to Pivot with Purpose. This is my show where I pivoted from shit I'm 30, where I was dreading turning 30. I had a failed marriage, failed engagement after that, and I don't have a relationship with my immediate family. But through it all, I came out the other side with a thriving business, an unexpected radio morning show of my own, and a platform where I can reach millions of people and help them walk in their truth. I am now celebrating every step of my journey into continuously finding my purpose, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Sometimes this journey looks like shit, and it probably sounds even worse, but it's still our journey, and I'm learning right along with you to enjoy it. There's always a rainbow after the rain falls. Now, if you need advice in pivoting in any aspect of your life, relationships, career, spirituality, send your questions or story to askcarlawilmaris@gmail.com or shoot me a DM at Carla Wilmaris. Now, let's start the show. Welcome back, guys, to another episode. Look at me. Episode of Pivot with Purpose with me, your host, Carla Wilmaris, and I just hit my chest really hard. I feel like I left a mark there and slapped myself. I am joined today. This is going to be part of the series. I talked to you guys a couple of weeks ago, and I told you that I'm going into this transition, into this healing journey, and I didn't think that Pivot with Purpose was going to come and be doing this. I really thought that, it was going to be more business oriented because that's where my life was going to be, or where it was headed. But things shifted, things changed, and I didn't know that it was going to happen. So here we are today, and I want to give you more stories and more understanding and more education into certain personality disorders. And not only that, but people that have overcome things that they've been through and negative situations and made those into a positive, because I feel like a lot of us stay in that rut of, oh, it's so negative and it's so bad. Why did this happen to me? And questioning. And little do you know, hey, there's so much you can get out of this, right? Trust me, it's still shitty and we're still trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to figure it out, but I'm trying to find the silver lining in between all of this. So my guest today, if you follow me on social media, you've probably been seeing me post and repost things on my story. It is Baron Young from Reach on Recovery. Hello, thank you for joining me.
Hey, what's going on? Thank you for allowing me to be on your show.
Of course. I was very intentional. I'll say, his page and his brand is Reach on Recovery, and it's for narcissistic abuse recovery, information, awareness. And I'm going to play for you guys a second the video that I first watched and how I found him on social media. But one of the reasons why I truly, truly wanted to bring him on, it's because there is this stigma for men, right? Especially Black men, Hispanic men, that you can't show your emotions, right? You're this big, tough guy. And when I saw this man talking about this, I said, there's no way. Nah. Like I keep seeing, what they call self-aware. Narcissists are people that know that they are narcissists and maybe they're working on it and they're talking about it. But a man that's been through any type of abuse, especially emotional, okay, punk. That's really what society is telling them, right? And I really want to bring this forward because it's real and you're vocal about it. So I'm going to play really quick the video that I first saw, and, that's how I found you.
Narcissists use people as emotional regulators because they can't process negative emotions by themselves. Stuff like that directly contradicts the self-proclaimed superiority of their false self. So their way around it is just dump all that negativity onto you. Some of y'all was wondering why y'all felt so bad in that thing. And that's because that narc was using you as an emotional garbage dump. And they were making daily deposits of their anger, their guilt, their shame, their low self-esteem. See, that anger will cause them to verbally abuse or put hands on you. But then they flip the script and say it's your fault for triggering them. That low self-esteem will cause them to run out there and cheat. But then again, it's your fault for not keeping them happy. You see how it works? That's why this healing journey is so important. We identify and stop the person making toxic deposits. We purge that negativity from our system. And finally, we put boundaries in place to stop anybody that's trying to use us as a landfill ever again. But still, y'all be careful out there, because these narcs out here narking.
Listen, when you finish your videos with these narcs be narking, that threw me out. I said, what? He did not just say that. That was
that
what?
That phrase encompasses everything narcissism. So it's like you don't have to put a phrase to it. You don't have to say exactly if it's projection, blame shifting, none of that. It's just they out here narking. Clear it from your mind. Go ahead and do your own thing.
Listen, absolutely. So let's take it back. That really resonated with me because, again, February 28th, when I left my situation that day, I had just found out what narcissism or NPD was just a few days prior. I had no idea. So seeing someone like you being on Instagram and giving so much information was amazing to me. I'm like, wow, like what a blessing. But let's take us back. Like, give us a little bit about you, who you are, what got you here.
So essentially, I'll jump in kind of where you found out about narcissism, because a lot of people in the community found out about it the same way. Knew nothing about it, knew nothing of it, thought they were just in a relationship that might be troubled or might just have this little ups and downs that they could work through, not knowing that they had somebody that was intentionally doing them wrong. So essentially, when I found out, it was kind of the same deal. I was in a relationship and we went back and forth for a bunch of times. Married twice, divorced twice.
Ooh, when you said that, I said, what? Did I hear you right?
Man, it was one of those deals where I had kids. I wanted to make it work. I didn't understand fully what was going on. So I kept re-engaging, thinking if I did better and better and better, that a relationship would initially, it would mesh, it would start to work. Mm. But you hit a breaking point, or close to a breaking point, where you're about to break, and you realize there's nothing that you do that's going to change that situation. Mm. And then when you come to that realization, when it happened for B, I remember exactly, because I started to wonder how it would be when my heart broke. And I thought I was just going to be laid out on the floor, crying all left and right, playing the blues, jazz, this and the third. But it was completely different. It hit me different. When I found out about the latest episode of cheating, it's like everything shut down. I processed so much that I couldn't process no more. Oof. And then when it shut down, I just got indifferent. And when I became indifferent and we had that conversation about what was going on, it threw the narc off. Because you got to remember, the narc knows you. They know how you're going to react. And they look forward to your negative reaction because that's supply. Oof. So when they wasn't getting that from me, I could see that they was throwed off. So I'm like, okay. I just kept talking, kept rationalizing. And then the stuff that was like the blame shifting, projection, this and the third, which usually worked, which wasn't working on me because I was emotionally disconnected. So they was giving up information they didn't even need to give up. And I was seeing stuff in them that was like, yo, something is off. Something is way off.
You just don't know what it is.
Yeah. And that's what sparked me to go online and start looking. I was like, chronic cheating. What's going on with chronic cheating? I was looking, I was Google searching. A bunch of stuff was coming up. And I remember narcissism popped up the first time. But it popped up and it was like a list. It was like the top things that could be associated with chronic cheating. And when I saw narcissism, I didn't even know what it meant. When I saw narcissist, I thought it was related to something like optimist, pessimist. I didn't even read it. I blew past it. Mm. Then I kept reading, kept looking, kept going through Google. And then I found another one that said narcissist again. It was like top 3. But this one had a picture. It had a picture of a young lady staring in a mirror. And I was like, something really resonates. Like, because my narcissist, she was really into her appearance.
How long ago was this? So I started reading
through the list. This was about 3 years ago.
Okay, so she was really into her appearance.
Yeah. So that was the thing that got me to initially look at that picture. And then I started reading through the list about all the other traits of narcissists. Mm-hmm. And then everything was hitting. Boom, boom, boom. The self-centeredness, taking no accountability, So I'm like, hold on, let me get a little deeper into this. Let me go on to YouTube. So I went on to YouTube, and what really made it resonate for me was I started just listening to normal people, what they went through, and how their story resonated with mine. And I was like, okay, this is exactly what I'm going through. I got to cut ties and get going.
So by this time, this is the second time. We're not going to blow past the fact that you married the same person twice. You kind of like threw that out there and said, we're just going to go straight to the end. No. Because once we get to the end, I feel like we've already been through a ton of things, right? So if we go to the beginning, how old were you when you met, your ex?
This was my senior year in college.
Oh, wow. So
I was like 21 years old. And I was working as a bouncer at a nightclub. And that's where we met. I seen her on the line.
You said, come on, skip the line, baby.
Physical attributes. Yeah, I was like, yeah. She definitely got the perks that night. And then it was funny because I remember that initial conversation. I talked to her. We flirted a little bit. She went in and did her thing. She was in there dancing and partying with the girls. She came back out and I talked to her again. But something didn't quite, I don't know, like after that conversation, I didn't ask her for her number.
Huh.
So she walked off, but she didn't walk off too far. She like stayed there and she was waiting. And I don't know what was it. I wasn't.
Like, how dare he not ask for my number?
Yeah. I wasn't playing no games or nothing like that. I was just like, I don't know, I'm not going to ask her. And then I remember somebody else tried to holler at her. And I think Mama Cheesemo kicked in. I was like, nah, let me shut that down. Let me get the number. Let me get the digits.
So did you experience what, most therapists and most people say as love bombing? And what does that look like from a woman,
Well, yeah. Yes. So essentially, it kind of looks the same. The essential part of love bombing is that they're figuring out you. They're figuring out what you want in an ideal partner. And then they're reflecting that on you. Mm. Not only that, they're reflecting a lot of your good traits. They're watching you. So what you're saying is this mask. And all that mask is nothing but positive. And you can't really make a distinction between man and woman. It's the same concept. It'll work with either. Mm. And then when you throw on top of that, the perceived passion, when you start to get to the lovemaking, so on and so forth, it cements that bond early before you realize what's happening.
I haven't touched on that or even really thought about it until maybe about 3 weeks ago in therapy when I finally opened up about, wow, the passion behind, the bedroom. I've never experienced something where I feel like I was the only one. No one else could ever feel like this. This is special. This has to be it from day one that things became intimate.
And that's the perception we get. The perception we get is passion. But a lot of time it's stuff. It's not even unique towards you. It's something they've done with other partners that they're doing with you. Mm. They're trying to exert their control over you. And then that control early on feels like passion.
There is a long list of Black-led products that fit into your daily lifestyle. Show Black founders some love, not just during Black History Month, but all year long. There is power in every purchase because every time we buy Black-led brand, we make room and create demand for another Black-led brand like Natural Vert Granola, Partake Cookies, Creamalicious Ice Cream, Midwest Kids, the Lip Bar, and so many more. Black founders and the products they bring to the table are creating a whole new world of choices at Walmart. So go to walmart.com/Black and Unlimited to discover all the amazing Black-owned products you can add to your daily routine.
It throws your head for a loop, and you don't realize what's really happening.
That literally that make my... We just started, girl. Calm the fuck down. You're not finna cry in this bitch. That makes your heart kind of move because, again, I'm literally doing 3 to 4 hours of therapy a week. I'm spending a lot of money. So my thing is, I just had a session where I said, man, was I not special, right? I thought I was special. And it's my therapist like, that's your ego talking right now. You were removed, so your ego is injured. Your ego is hurt right now, and it is, because now I realize that all of these things that I thought were special and unique to me have been done with plenty before me and will be done with plenty after me. There's nothing special about it. So going back to you, you're now in love. There's quote unquote passion. There's love there, and you move forward. Does it move fast like everyone else?
Yeah, it moved pretty fast. Because that first kid was on the way.
How long after?
And one thing I learned about, it wasn't long.
A month?
The swimmers were strong back then, I ain't gonna lie. So yeah, we gonna say a month.
Okay. All right. No, I've known some situations where, it's literally like weeks and the person's pregnant. You know, I made a conscious decision myself. You know, it was very planned. My situation was very different, you know, because I was very particular and very meticulous, and I was trying to cross every T, dot every I, and I was still fooled, you know, literally that's what I called. Yeah. I'm like, I feel like I was still fooled, even though I tried so hard, because I was already on a healing journey of my own. So I felt like it was just perfect. God brought this perfect person to me. I mean, and now today I will say that I still think I had to go through that, and God wanted me to go through that for me to get to where I am. But so things move. Okay. So within a month, you guys are mommy and daddy, and now you're stuck. You're there.
Yeah. And the way I was raised, I'm going to take care of my kids. Like it was better in my idea. It was ideal that I'd be in their life day to day. So I was committed early on to making it work.
Making it work. Okay. Let's go there.
Making it work.
Let's go there, because now she's pregnant, right? You're about to be a father. Mm-hmm. There's a pressure on you as a man. And now I want to focus on you as a man, right? There's a pressure on you as a man to take care of your children, to take care of this woman, to be the man of the household. Now this abuse starts happening. And when we talk about abuse in these relationships, we're not talking about I'm hitting you upside the head right away, or I'm whooping your ass. It progressively gets worse. So for you, when would you say that manipulation and the negative things started happening? And then I want to talk about how you still went in there and trying to make it work.
For starters, to address this conversation, and I think especially with men, is that you need to understand that there's more than just one type of abuse. Mm-hmm. So I came up in a household where there was some physical and verbal abuse from my father towards my mother. So I learned early on that's what abuse is. Okay. Not only did I learn that, that's where my defenses were. So if you tried to put hands on me in a relationship, I told you, I'm never going to put my hands on a woman. That's a motto I go by. That's a motto that's a motto I'm not ever going to go against. But still, I was guarded in that area. You ain't going to be fool enough to put your hands on me and think something ain't going to happen. Mm-hmm. You're going to get gripped up. You're going to get restrained. Something going to happen. It's just, it ain't going down like that. But what I failed to understand as a man was that there are different ways that I could get attacked. So my shield is in front of me. My guard is here. And that never happened in a relationship. There was never any physical altercations. But what I didn't understand was that I could be hit with financial abuse. And the way they play that, or the way I got played, I'll go ahead and put it out there, was like, hey, you the man. The man provides and protects. So I'm like, okay, I got that. But there was no reciprocation or limited reciprocation on the other end. So I'm like, hold on, something don't feel right. So my shield is up here,
for the abuse,
but I'm getting stabbed all back here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh man, okay, something don't feel right. But my shield is in place. Ain't nothing hit that guard. Then what I didn't understand was that chronic cheating, repeatedly, without remorse, I had to learn this from my therapist, is a form of emotional abuse.
Absolutely.
So then I was getting attacked from the other side. Now I'm losing my stature, losing my composure. My guard is still up in this one area. but I don't know why I'm faltering. I don't know why I'm failing. And it took me really coming to realization what was going on to be like, hey, I've handicapped myself by not having the information of what's a healthy relationship.
Absolutely. I actually have a few things that I found here. So according to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, it's thehotline.org. It says domestic violence can affect anyone, including men. According to the CDC, 1 in 7 men aged 18 and up in the U.S. has been a victim of severe physical violence by an intimate partner in his lifetime. 1 in 10 men has experienced rape, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner. Excuse me. In 2013, 13% of documented contacts to the hotline identified themselves as male victims. That's very, very low. Now, it says some of the reasons that men do not report or speak and try to get help, seek help for their abuse are men are socialized not to express their feelings or see themselves as victims. Pervading beliefs or stereotypes about men being abusers and women always being the victims. The men are never the victims. The abuse of men is often treated as less serious or a joke. And many believe that there are no resources or support available for male victims. So that is very much so. And then another thing that I found that I want to touch on, because you just said you never experienced the physical violence. And sometimes I will tell you, and I will say from experience, I think that now, since I've experienced both, I will take physical abuse any day before the mental or emotional abuse. I can recover from some bruises. Get a quick IV, take some arnica, stay home for a couple of days, a couple of weeks. Them bruises are going to go away. It's the emotional and that mental abuse that really fucks with you. And then you have to really rewire chemically your brain to go back. So on narcissisticabuse.rehab.com, it says in many instances, the male survivors, I still want to focus on male survivors of abuse, they have anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress goes untreated and can escalate into serious health outcomes, including autoimmune disorders like lupus, fibromyalgia, substance dependency, and complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is PTSD. And men are experiencing a mental health crisis. 4 out of 5 suicides are men and boys. In the UK, suicide is the biggest killer of men and boys under 45. So turning to alcohol and drugs is one of the big, this is something we're not talking about because we think that men have to be protector providers and they cannot be abused by women themselves. And I can think back to I was toxic. I've been in toxic relationships where my mouth has been just wow. And I think back and say, how did that impact the men that I was with back then, right? I was not no perfect person. I know when I got into this relationship, I was already working on myself. That was no longer me. I grew. And let's say it could be karma, right? It is what it is. Maybe I needed to go through this in order for me to realize what I had done in the past and for my growth and for my own journey. But the point here is that men are suffering in silence, literally in silence. Who did you speak to first about this or how you felt? Or did you even feel like you could?
That's a good question.
Did you ever talk? Did you ever talk? Do you have a friend that you could talk to and you could just tell them little things here and there as a man?
See, the thing, you kind of give a lot out there. So let's go ahead and digest all of it.
Okay.
Because you hit the nail on the head where men are conditioned not to share their feelings. Mm-hmm. Even from a young age. You fall, you scrape your knee, you better not be crying.
Right.
You get to adolescent age, nut up or shut up. It's always some type of stigma or type of saying, something out there that tells you to repress your emotions. Right. That's a part of your manhood. And then keep pressing forward. Right. So what often happens is that the emotions don't go away. They just reside within you, up here and in here. So what happens is when you get an abuser in the mix, or you get any type of abusive, hurtful behavior on a consistent level. Yeah, I got friends. Yeah, I have a brother. but we're only socially conditioned to talk to a point. We'll talk more about sports. We'll talk more about females, some video games, something small, something simple. We might make reference to what's happening in our relationship, but it's all like, oh man, she was tripping, so I'm just sliding third, but I'm going to take care of it. You don't really go into dive into deep detail.
Right.
And you need that deep detail. The difference with a lot of females, y'all conditioned to share, and y'all relationships are more open. So when y'all have that conversation or where it sparks initially, y'all go all in.
Right.
And y'all
we mad at you. Now we start
process.
Hey, girl, I read this. Or girl, this, like right now, even me being, hyper aware and maybe a little too sensitive to verbal abuse at this point in time. When my friends tell me anything, immediately I'm like, oh, red flag. You need to be careful. That's not cool. That's not right. Girl, you need to be. So, but it's because they're willing to tell me some of these things. I feel like men, and I'm seeing a beautiful shift in men and mental health and opening up more and wanting to speak up more. But I still feel like it's not where it needs to be. I want Black men to be able to just say, hey, I can call my homeboy and be like, bro, something wrong. Do you feel like you have that now?
You still don't have it now. I agree with you. You're having that shift, especially now when you got stuff out there like that Johnny Depp case, where you understand, or it's pretty prevalent that he's the victim in that case. And I think the reason so many people are behind it is because it's starting to break that stigma. So we are making that shift. I mean, you can feel it. You can see it even with some of the public cases that's going on, but it's still not to the point to overcome decades, centuries of societal conditioning that you need to keep it in.
Right.
It's getting better, but it's not to the point where we can sit down and have those open conversations. And like you said, we need to, because right now all the men are just kind of holding it in. And kind of speaking from my personal experience, when you don't have an outlet, it's just filtering through you internally. You start to replay some of those toxic thoughts, and it'll get to the point where you become your own abuser.
Yeah.
It's self-inflicted abuse when you're repeating the negative ideology that's coming from the outside and that's not being dispersed out. So that's what's leading to the substance addictions, because you're looking for escapes. So the substance addictions, the PTSD, the constant stress on the mind and body leads to those autoimmune disorders.
Yes.
And the deal with the suicide is that when you're under constant pressure, you're under constant torment up here, what seems as an escape, which is never good, I don't recommend it. But some people think taking their own life will end the torment. Yeah.
And it's like a butterfly effect. I don't think people realize, from the narcissist standpoint as well as from us, what we do in our actions affect so many people. And they don't even realize how many people they're affecting. So I read in a publication, I'm gonna fuck this up all the way, but it was when you hold in this pain and this abuse and this trauma inside of you, and you don't let it out through therapy, through talking, through journaling, in a healthy way to deal with it. I'll just say therapy, period. When you don't deal with it through therapy, you are it goes into your cells, like physically, now scientifically, it goes into your own cells. And that's where these immune diseases come in, this stress. And stress is the number one killer. So having PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. It's literally going into your body, and it's shifting and changing the chemicals of your own body because you're not taking the time to deal with this. I'm dealing with it right now, and I've been really open about how I've always dealt with anxiety. The anxiety that I'm dealing with now is something completely different. I thought that PTSD was for people that went to war, Army, Navy, Marines, somebody that's been shot, maybe, like really off the wall things, right? Like crazy extreme. I didn't know that mental, emotional, and some physical abuse just in a relationship can cause PTSD.
And that's how we typically think about it. We think about PTSD and see PTSD as the most extreme. But like you said, holding on to that stress, keeping your body in that fight, flight, freeze or fawn mode is not, it's not ideal. Those modes are only supposed to be temporary. That stress on you continuously, you're going to start to break down.
Right.
Emotionally, it's going to be some breakdowns.
Absolutely. Now you have 2 children with your with your ex. What does that look like, raising some kids as a man? Because again, we're looking at someone that, wait, before I even go there, did you ever, once you start reading about narcissism, did you ever say, well, maybe, am I a narcissist? Do I have issues? Is it me? Did you ever question yourself and say, is this me? Am I causing this problem?
Oh yeah. I think anybody that's been through it asks themselves that question, because speaking for myself, I'm not perfect. I know I'm not perfect. I know I've done things that I should have. I've done things in reaction to what was being happened to me. And I had to stop there and question myself. Am I really the narc? Am I really the one that brought this upon myself? Mm-hmm. But when you really start diving into it, you understand that narcissists have trouble with self-awareness, self-reflection. So they don't ever want to see themselves as the problem. Mm-hmm. To them, it's everything else is around them the problem. Their false ego tells them that they're perfect. So they wouldn't entertain that question.
Right.
So the fact that I was not only entertaining it, but seriously entertaining it, I started to just kind of dismiss that. And then when I started going through, taking the toll on what did happen in the relationship and how it was so one-sided, right, I just sat down and put it to paper. And it was just, you had a whole list versus a couple things that happened over here. And it was like, nah.
I love that you said that. I love that you said that. The self-awareness part is something that if at any point you feel like bad about what you've done, maybe said, how you've reacted to something, at that point you can realize maybe you could have done some toxic things. Maybe you could have made terrible decisions. We're not saying that if you don't have narcissistic personality disorder, you are just this perfect person. We're fucked up too. I got fucked up things that I've done, said, we have things that, and we're human. But what makes us different is the fact that we can commit these things, we can make these mistakes and self-reflect and say, wow, I shouldn't have done that, and then change it. Not weaponize someone and not use it as a weapon and be like, oh yeah, I was wrong. I feel like when they say they're wrong or they're sorry, it's really because they're trying to get something else out of you. Not necessarily because they're sorry about the way that they made you feel.
That's key right there when you said identifying what we did wrong and then looking for ways to change it. It's night and day with the narcissist. Oof. They'll identify how they got caught and become a better liar, become a better cheater, become a better abuser. Yeah. It's complete opposites.
Absolutely. And I think the scariest part, which I've talked about before here, is the fact that there is no cure for this, right? So when I found out about it, me leaving within the week of me knowing that this is what this person really had, and it wasn't because, for you looked it up. It's very hard to get someone diagnosed because they don't go to therapy and they're perfect. They won't. I had it was a blessing that, that was one of my requirements in the relationship. So for a trained professional licensed person to tell me this is what's going on, it gave me that nudge that I needed to say, I got to get the fuck out. I'm out. Like, I'm leaving. There's nothing else. And most people don't have that. You didn't have that, and you still chose to leave. Now you're in the first divorce. What made you go into the second marriage? With the first divorce, what made you get married again?
So essentially went into that first divorce was so hot, heavy, and quick. It hit me so fast, my head spun. Like, I didn't even know what happened. I really didn't get any closure. So I just took it as something happened that went too far, or something wasn't happening in a relationship, that I failed in some way. Right. That if I would have did better, I could have made this thing last. So it didn't. Got divorced as fast as possible. It was pushed from the other side. And then we both went our separate ways. But what happened when I went my separate ways, since I never had that closure, I still had a one-sided attachment. But in order to heal myself, there was exponential change. I started getting into church, started going to the gym.
Amen.
Started getting focused on my finances. So within like a 6-month period, I made a massive shift. And then once I made that shift, the other party was reinterested again. Me thinking this is another chance and not understand that I just refilled my tank for it to be emptied again. I jumped back into it. Well, when that tank got emptied the second time, I was like, hold up, something. Nah, it ain't adding up. It ain't adding up.
It's not adding up. And I love that you give that analogy of a tank, because that's literally what it is. You fill yourself up, and then these people just empty you. And as a man, you're able to be emptied by a woman. It's a thing. It can happen. It's not like some like unicorn, or no, it happens all the time. And when you leave the relationship, you start realizing that when you don't move in an emotional way, for me, today's the 26th. We're recording this on the 26th. On the 28th, it'll be 3 months. Motherfucker. These 3 months have been the longest 3 months of my life. I kid you not. It feels like a year. No lie. It feels like it's been a year. But one thing I will say that I have not wavered on is I have not reacted not once off of emotion. And Carla, a couple of years ago, would have reacted off of emotion. I would have, you did me dirty. I gotta fuck you up. I gotta do you dirty. You did me dirty. I have the resources. I got the people. I can do you dirty. But for what? For instant gratification, and that's gonna do nothing. That's gonna do nothing. Plus, on top of that, it'll bring me to your level. Which is where I don't want to go.
And supply is a two-sided coin. They like the positive supply, but they love that negative supply. So if they can get you to come out of your composure, if they can get you reacting, if they can get you angry, just irate, they will sit back, no emotion on their face, but they're soaking that all in. They love that. So you're actually winning every battle.
That is like literally, it's like heroin being shot up to a crackhead. You're literally giving them heroin the second that you give them that negative, that explosion, like, so they can sit back and say, there she go. I told you she crazy. I told you he crazy. I told you he's obsessed with me. I told you she just want me and she don't want me to be here. Or it tells the new supply, you see, this is why I'm with you, because she wants this. She wants attention from me. She wants me so bad, or he wants me so bad. See, this is why I'm with. And I can see it. I've seen it in women as well. Like when I have specifically right now a male friend that's going through it, and no one is going to leave the situation until they're ready. And it's really hard to leave. Now, you had a video where you talked about how the longer that you're in it, the harder it is to leave. How long in total between the two marriages were you in for?
12 years.
Shit.
Good old 12 years. 12 years of my youth.
Wow. There is a video, darn it. Oh, here we go. That you have when it comes to healing.
Healing after narc abuse is not easy. And the longer you were with them, the harder it's going to be.
This is the one.
Because you had somebody that was trying to take away everything that made up you. They were stealing your resources, belittling your character, wasting your time. They were taking portions of your youth and the opportunities that came with it. And that's not something you bounce back from overnight. You're going to be battling bitterness and resentment. You'll have good days where you take 2 steps forward, bad days where you'll take 10 steps back, and some days where you're just numb and you don't make any progress at all. But it's worth it in the end, because you end up being a better person that's immune to the toxic people that still walk the earth. And as for the time you lost, just remember this: God will restore the years that the locusts have eaten. So your latter days are promised to be better than your former days. Still be vigilant out there and be careful, because these narcs out here knocking. Until next time, peace.
When I tell you that video will still bring me to tears, and that's the impact that I want you to know. I'm sure you get messages, but that is, you have made an impact in people that are currently going through. You were 12 years and 3 years out now. Those days that you lost, that time, that's one thing you can't get back. It's time.
Yeah.
But those days were meaningful in some way, right?
Yeah, I mean, this purpose of the pain. And that's the one thing I had to come to grips with in order to move forward. Because if you stop and you sit there and you reminisce on it, I did another video about kind of what that feels like. It's like we're all running a race in life. And in my mind, and everybody else's mind, they have an idea of where they want to be when they're 25, 30, 40, so on and so forth. I figured at this point, I should be with the house, backyard, kids, dogs, this, that, and the third, doing well financially. But as I was running that race, somebody stopped me. And I stood still for 12 years. Then when I finally realized what was happening, you look up and I was like, oh, I was supposed to be over there. And it's like, dang, you almost want to stop and just reminisce about, dang, if I didn't stop, I'd be there by now. And even though that narc might be out your life, you still stuck.
Shit, yeah.
So it's like, hey, you got to create your own healing, get back on that race. And what you need to realize is that the knowledge that you got from that time, the purpose in that pain is going to propel you forward so that it won't be like you missed any time whatsoever.
No. And I will tell you and everyone listening right now, I felt like I was like, man, I lost 3 years. 3 years where I'm seeing my counterparts like just explode. And I'm like, man, where I could have been today if I didn't stop, if I didn't create a family as a woman, right? Because for you as a man, if you feel it as a man, imagine me as a woman. I had to go through a pregnancy, raise a baby. Now my traveling is like, stop. I have to travel for work. And when it's $200 a night to keep a babysitter overnight. You know, that's expensive as fuck. When we're talking about thousands of dollars a month in order to have a nanny for me to be able to work and do the business that I do, that's a lot of fucking money. And to know that I am 100% responsible for this child because someone like this, and maybe not all, but most, actually, I will say if someone is actually diagnosed with it, they are unable to connect with anyone that includes their children. You know, so I'm in a situation where 100% this is on me. And now I'm like, I lost this time. I could have been there. And there are days where I sit there and I'm trying not to do it. And I'm scheduling my grieving time. But I'm like, where I could have been. But I can no longer focus on that. But now that I'm no longer focusing on where I could be, the blessings are rolling in. And I've been saying every episode, I don't have to lift a finger. The DMs are coming in from Blue Check saying, hey, can you help me do X? I need to hire you. I need this. I have an amazing team. God is moving. But you have to be so intentional. You have to be so fucking intentional with your healing. It's not even funny. I literally, and I want to ask you if you ever felt this way. I know you're 3 years removed, but I don't think like anyone will ever forget how they feel. You know, during this time, I've never been addicted to anything. The new therapist asked me, have you ever been addicted to anything? And I've never done weed, not coke, not nothing. I mean, I do smoke weed now for my sanity. It's great. I never thought this day would happen. But
ain't nothing wrong with that.
Love me a little microdosing of marijuana, but mostly my gummies, which I love my gummies. But I'm like, I know that's exactly what a crackhead feels like because I will go look at something, right? I would go look or look at old messages or look at old pictures. And I'm like, I can't look at pictures. And I'll go and look. And I said, this is exactly what a crackhead must feel when they're like, I'm just going to get one more rock. I'm just going to smoke one more time.
Yeah, I mean, trying to get that quick hit just to stave off the
edge,
the pressure of that withdrawal. So I had to do, what I did was I went cold turkey. Blocked, deleted, everything. The friends, family that was associated with it. Some people I didn't want to lose, but it was like, hey, if you connected to that narcissist, I got to cut you loose.
Wow.
I made the mistake of actually keeping one. And it was a genuine mistake because, you know, it was extended family because they had a different last name. And I forgot that was on my Facebook. And it's like clockwork. As soon as I was going through my process, they post something about the ex. And it's like, man, you get a quick re-trigger and it's like, oh man, I missed you. Let me go ahead and hit that delete button real quick.
Yeah.
But you got to go cut turkey. You just got to cut it off. You shouldn't have all that, those messages, those pictures in the phone.
Okay, so then I'll ask you, how do you go cold turkey when there's children involved?
So you got to work.
Or how did you manage it?
Okay, I feel like I could back up a little bit.
Let's go.
Okay. The real thing that broke the camel's back and solidified me leaving. So I went and talked to a therapist as well at a certain point. And speaking to that therapist, they got to my childhood and how some of the things I went to taught me to tolerate abuse. And I never even put two and two together. I was so focused on the one side that I didn't pay attention that the person getting abused kept coming back. And every time they kept coming back, it taught me, okay, I can tolerate that for a little bit. So then my therapist made that connection. And then she looked at me and she said, what are your kids going to take from you? And it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like, hold up. If I keep going down this toxic cycle, my boys that look up to me are going to look at our relationship, look how we interact, look at the cheating and all the trifling that's going on, and they're going to say, you know what? That's love. Either I'm going to go out and get somebody like that for myself, or I'm going to be like that. And it was like, I don't care how I feel at this point. Cut it. Oof. It's all done.
Marking that, because you as a man are saying this, and that to me is beautiful, because we only see that as women. Like, men are the one cheating, men are the ones. Women do this too. And this is not for me to go here, let's bash on women. No, it's just, let's be neutral with this situation. Abuse is abuse no matter where it's coming from, right? Everyone has childhood trauma. But the fact that you went to a therapist and you were able to self-reflect and say, I'm accepting this because I've been through so much shit beforehand, and I think it's normal, or I think it's okay, or I've normalized it within me. Let me now deal with that. I'm currently dealing with my inner, this is the therapist talking, the inner child. And I've been making fun of him all the time. Black man, I'm just like, whatever. Here go more white people shit. This is literally what I tell him all the time. And it's really just me, like, not trying to deal with it, but then I have to anyway. So dealing, like, I have to parent now my inner child. And tell my inner child, it's okay, baby. Come on, that's not okay. Let me really reteach you what's healthy. And you as a man are like, I think you hear women saying, I cannot teach my children. They cannot see this. But you're the example that you said as a man, hey, I cannot let my children see this as normal.
It's key. I want people to kind of pick up on, they're listening to two people that both went to therapy, still going to therapy, and doing the work to break generational curses.
Amen.
Because that's what it is. It's a generational curse.
Yes.
If you don't address it, the toxicity you're facing now is going to be faced by your children. You teach them not to address it, then it's going to be faced by your grandchildren.
Amen.
I've heard it so many times. We're chain breakers. Whatever I need to do to break that chain, I'm going to break that chain. If I got to go solo for a season, I'm going to go solo.
Yes. I've never been single this long. And we're talking about 3 months. So that's pretty fucking pathetic when I think about it. Now I'm 35 years old and I'm like, damn, I've been from relationship, from a marriage to a year and a half to 6 years to, to another 3 years. Like, I've been in relationship after relationship, and now it's my time to say, I'm reclaiming back me. I'm going to learn me. I'm going to love me. And I know this is what some people be like, oh, you lonely bitch. Maybe you can't get no niggas. Or you're this not. You know what? For those people that think that, they've never been through a self-healing spiritual journey. And that used to be me.
Well, I come to learn too. People just talk.
Yeah.
Especially when you got somebody toxic. It's crazy how the trolls pop out of nowhere as soon as I started doing this online. It's like, they have no vested interest in what you're talking about.
Right.
But they just trying to get in there to get under your skin. Them same trolls online are the same trolls you're running to day in and day out. Mm-hmm. Now, somebody that says something like that, somebody that's trying to belittle what you're going through right now, it's complete nonsense. Blow them off. They're a non-factor in your life. Non-factor whatsoever. It's actually, I take it, if you got some haters, you're doing something right.
Right. And, doing these episodes are upsetting some people. It's like, oh, so you got an MPD podcast? No, I actually want to dive into a lot of different things when it comes to relationships, because this now allows you to do something better with your life, and which is why I want to go into now. You used your pain for a certain purpose. So what led you to say, you know what, I'm going to take this pain and help others with it? And that's really where I want to dive into now. It's like, you helped me. And I came out of nowhere. I'm in Florida. You're in Texas. I don't know you from nowhere. I sent the DM and it was praying to God that you would answer it. So what led you to say, hey, I'm going to share this and reach people?
And you can see me kind of grimacing on the side of the screen because you don't realize it, but you asked a very personal question. Okay. So, I mean, there's no real way to dance around it. We're going to jump back to what we talked about when we talked about suicide for a little bit. Mm. So, I don't have a formal education in it. I've just gone through it. So this is the school of hard knocks talking to you. So the reason I was able to so eloquently express how men go through and how it can lead to suicidal thoughts was that the second time, but right before the second divorce, something big, hot, and heavy happening. It was the same patterns, the same chronic cheating. But the way I saw it, like I saw it down and dirty. I saw how that narc actually thought about it and how they were joking about it with their friends. Mm. And then when it all hit me, it was like a conglomeration of negative just kind of going through my head. And as it was beating me up, that idea popped in my head. Mm. But what's so scary and what's so hard to talk about it, and this is the first time I even talked about it. I even lied to my therapist when she asked me.
Wow. Jesus.
But it's so scary to talk about because it came across as a good idea. And even now as I'm talking about it, I can't change it. It's still...
Oh, I cried for you.
It still was at the time to me, it still sounded like a good idea.
I know where you're coming from.
Now, the Holy Ghost in me, I'm a spiritual person.
Absolutely.
I'm going to call it what it was. Because when that idea came, it was like, it searched me to figure out the source. It was a quick hell no. Mm-hmm. Something is wrong. We need to figure out where it's coming from. I realized it was the relationship. Something was way off. And that very night, it was 2-3 in the morning. I was gone. Amen. I mean, I couldn't find my shoes. I'm in downtown Dallas, barefoot, walking to my car. Wow. Because I've made the conscious decision, hey, you ain't coming after my spirit like that. It's too much I got left to do before I just give this thing up. So, going into why I started the business, it's because some people might not have the same fortitude that I had. Right. So when I'm giving information, I'm giving advice that I wish I had at that time and period, in hopes that somebody will understand, learn early, and get out before they get to that point. Mm-hmm. So I mean, that's the whole. Like I'm an introvert. You might not be able to tell from the podcast because I'm talking.
Right.
But initially, I didn't want to do this. I did want to help people, but not on a scale like this.
Right.
So through prayer and meditation, I remember clearly God telling me, if you could just reach one person, you would have done the job. You would have fulfilled your purpose. You just have to reach one person. And I was like, just one person? And
you have one right here.
Can't you think about who was, and it was like, who was the person that reached Dr. Martin Luther King or something like that? Who was the one that sparked that enlightened me, that wave of healing? And I was like, you know what? I can do that. I can reach somebody. But it's kind of snowballing into more than I expected it to be.
And that's amazing. And I think that's when you know you're making an impact, because there's so many people being in the space and meeting so many great people that are making, a shift and really making changes and helping people. They didn't expect to be where they are, or they didn't expect to touch as many lives. And if God said to you, if you touch one person, trust me, you've touched thousands, and you might not know, so many. I get messages from reposting your messages, right? Your posts, and they're like, oh my goodness, this is so right. This is whatever. And I know that from seeing, like, I have followers that have followed you from me reposting your things, and you're making a difference. And I don't even want to go past the fact that thank you for sharing that, because it brings me to tears. One, because I know how vulnerable that is, because at 16, I was Baker acted, and I don't talk about it much. And it was, me being so, like, my mom specifically was just so strict, and I was going through so much. But during this time, I remember certain times that I wondered, would it be better if I was no longer here? Because I'm being told repeatedly on a daily basis how shitty I am. Just being degraded, and you literally start believing these things. So again, I'm thinking
that's nothing but the enemy.
Nothing but the enemy, and you have to believe in something higher. And everyone knows here that absolutely, I believe in my God and Jesus Christ. But I don't care if you believe in a rock being your higher power. Cling on to that. Cling on to something higher than you. Cling on to something higher than another human, and let that serve as a purpose for you to want to still be here, because your story is going to impact someone, which is another reason why for myself, it's so important for me to help people that truly have a story to start a podcast, because social media is great and I love social media, but with a long form, you can really feel someone, and you can get that story out, and you can touch someone in so much of a deeper level. So thank you for sharing that, because that's something really vulnerable. I mean, you just said you lied to your therapist. I mean, I've lied to my therapist plenty of times. Like, I didn't, and then I remember one specific lie that I lied to her about, and it was about the physical abuse. And when I finally told her, in my mind, I told myself that I told her, but I had not told anyone. So when I went and told her, I'm like, yeah, because you know how when this happened, and she said, what are you talking about? I said, girl, I told you. And she's like, no, you didn't. And I argued with her up and down. I know I told you, but it was really me making myself believe that I had told someone, but I hadn't. I really hadn't.
We'll tell ourselves those things to escape the responsibility of letting that trauma out.
Absolutely.
And that was kind of one of the things I was tackling just as we were speaking. I was like, now is not the time to escape it.
Mm-hmm. And you're here, and you're going to touch so many people with your story, whether it's through here, when you continue with your story, because it's your truth. And when we live our truth, some people take it as, oh, you're oversharing. Oh, you're doing it for attention. No, let me tell you something. I am so happy with who I am, and I accept myself, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I can say that I was toxic as hell back in the day. It's like just toxic. I can say that I've made mistakes, but I can also admit when I didn't do anything wrong and when I was wronged, and the healing that now I have to take upon myself, because now it's not anybody else's. It's not on anyone else to heal. It's me. I can't keep blaming somebody else for now I'm 3 months out and saying I'm still depressed. No, we need to do something about it. Or do you want to stay in this fucking depression, bitch? No. What are you going to do? You have kids. And one thing that I will say for you and I, we have children. And I was crying, I remember about 2 weeks ago, crying, saying, I wish I didn't have the kids, because if I didn't have the kids, things would be so much easier. If I didn't have the kids, I can just get over it. And if you're listening to this and you have children and you're dealing with a toxic relationship or a narc person, this can be someone that's extremely toxic or someone that's narcissistic. It's the same shit at this point. Your children are what's giving you that strength to keep going. When they told me that, and it wasn't even my therapist, it was someone that was like a grandma. She said, if you didn't have that boy, if you didn't have that girl, you would be under the sheets and you would not be working. You wouldn't be moving, and you would have drowned in your own sorrow. And
those kids are a blessing. I completely agree.
I never thought of it that way. Never, ever, ever thought of it that way. But honestly, this has been an amazing conversation with you. Like, I truly thank you for coming on. And like, we could literally, there's so much we could talk about for like the next 5 fucking hours. We're not going to do that though, because I definitely am my third glass of wine and then I'll just start crying for no reason. I don't fucking want a bag. But, oh shit, we have a whole letter we have to answer. We're going to do this quickly. Hold on. Wait a minute. What am I doing? Jesus Christ. We do have a letter from someone. So let's go into our letters. When we go into this, you can go ahead and send your question to askcarlawilmaris@gmail.com. I will answer your questions. Today, we have a question from a young woman. She's 32 years old, and she's dating someone that she believes is a narcissist or at least toxic. And I will always say, when you send these letters, you kind of already know the answer, but send them anyway, because when someone else hears it and you hear someone else telling you what you already know, it just gives you reassurance as to what you should do. So here is the question. It says, I need help with the situation. Every time, and I'll try to go skim through it. Every time we get into an argument, he'll derail the whole thing and compare me to his ex, who's always cooked and cleaned, or compared me to random people who compliment him on Twitter by saying he's smart. And then I don't do that. Literally, if I try to communicate and tell him something's bothering me, he gets offended, extremely offended. It points things out that are not related directly to what I initially said and starts comparisons or bringing up past issues. He's a vengeful person and he loves to carry out punishments, such as not having access to the car we share and only bringing up this point because I'm not sure how he'll handle a breakup. From time to time, he tries to shove in logical sayings like, quote unquote, communication is key. So one time I sat with him and asked him, why is he gifting random girl stuff? Or why did that new friend get a gift worth $300K US dollars, etc.? It turned into an argument and he said, I'm jealous because I shouldn't compare myself to those other people. I pressed him further and he said, you're privileged, so you're not going to get any of this. And I won't invest into your new business. But think of it as a test so you don't have to depend on me. Ooh, this is right here, and I'll stop because I feel like toxic people and narcs love tests. And let me tell you something. The only being that can test me is Jesus, is God. God tests, the devil tempts. No one else in this earth should be testing you.
That should be the only one trying to test you. I mean, the toddlers are trying to test you every once in a while, but they're just testing the water.
Right.
But when you get a grown person.
Yeah, I know. She says here he's European. He asks is okay that I don't understand because it's how Europeans are in relationships and I'm just not used to it. She says slightly unrelated. Is it narcissism or just an addiction to validation? He does show signs of manipulation and love of controlling, but really seems to love attention. Thinks he hasn't been getting much when he was a kid and a teen. Which I really don't care about, but it's worrying because he keeps comparing me and compared to random online comments that praise him, and I'm not as caring as those things. I'm not sure how to continue this relationship. I'm 32 and scared of starting over.
Ooh, that's a lot to
Did
unpack.
you see I saw like a red, not even a flag. It's like just red.
Oh, that is a glaring red sky. If you start breaking down, it's kind of tough because you're only getting one side of the message,
right?
But you get that. But there's so much meat and potatoes in that one side that you can make a pretty accurate declaration as to what's going on. For starters, when you get in an argument and somebody is comparing you to somebody else, they're devaluing you. So they see you as an object to which they can raise and lower your value based upon how they feel at that time.
Right.
So it's like a shirt in the closet. If I feel like wearing this red shirt, I'm going to go ahead and wear it. But if not, I'm going to go ahead and throw something else on.
Right.
Then you look at the stark contradictions of when she was bringing up the 300K gift and he's saying, well, you're comparing yourself to other people. It's a stark contradiction of what you just said in a previous argument. You're comparing me to other people, but when I do it's a problem.
Right.
Well,
ooh, I didn't even
with the simple fact that she's afraid.
Yeah.
That right there, you're afraid to break up. You need to silently be making plans to get gone. Because you're afraid for a reason.
What's your fear?
When they start showing you those little signs of, I think it was like shoving or whatever, he was getting aggressive. they're indoctrinating you towards a larger scale abuse.
Yeah.
Okay, you accepted me pushing you. Okay, next time I'm going to punch the wall. Okay, you left, but you came back. Okay, next time I'm going to slap you across your face. And you can see, I don't want to get too graphic with it, but you can see how it progresses.
Absolutely.
If you keep tolerating it.
Mm-hmm.
So, get gone. I don't know how other way to say it.
That's it. That's
Sounds
it.
like you got some
Just
money, but it ain't worth it.
get your plan together. And one of the things that I know that I'm completely grateful for is financially being able to leave, knowing that I had my home back in Florida. I mean, and it's still a big, huge shift, but I talked about last episode, the shame of coming back home as a woman, as a man, saying it didn't work. What I really, really tried to do is just, I failed. And I want everyone to understand every single week that I pop in here, failure is a part of life. Failure is going to happen regardless. It's okay if you fail. Trust me, if any one of my friends right now were to call me and say, I fucked up, this happened, I need your help. And they can truly say, like, I'm not going to judge them. I'm going to say, hey, how can I help you? I'm here for you, right? And I want you to know that if you have true friends and family, even if you're in turmoil with your family at certain times, when you go to them with an open heart and say, hey, I'm in this situation, I need help, I have a plan. Have a plan put together and just get the fuck out. Get out. It's not going to get any better. It just isn't. So these people just will take and take and take, and you'll never be fulfilled. So there's no reason. You're 32. Bitch, I'm 35. I'm 35. I'm on.
Yeah, she
according
got to heed your advice.
Because
she says she's 32 and afraid of starting over, and it gets harder the longer you stay.
Yes.
Because now you're gonna be 34, 35, nothing changing, getting worse.
Then you're gonna be 40. Like 35, according to the doctors, my eggs is powdered. I can't even make your baby no more. You know, like I'm old and decrepit. Then I'm gonna hit 40 and oh my God, what is not SSI? What's the other one for old people? Still Social Security. I'm gonna get Social Security at 40.
Yeah.
You know, like it's all these things society puts on you. So if you're working off of fear, dig deeper into what that fear and where that fear is coming from, because that's a personal issue, not the abuser's issue. So figure out what that fear is. Get a plan together. Say within the next 3 months, I'm going to save X amount. I'm going to call this person. I'm going to move. You know, if you have the means to move now, get the fuck out and go. That's the best thing that you can do. It's just one of those things that it's scary, and fear is a thing, but just do it. I love saying do it scared. Just do it anyway. And you'll be okay.
Yeah. And for spiritual people out there, you were not given the spirit of fear.
Absolutely.
If that's holding you back, you need to just plow through it.
Amen. Absolutely. So I love that, because that'll give us the perfect segue into our scripture for the day. And our Bible verse is from Isaiah. I feel like Isaiah is just one of those that I just keep going back to. And it's Isaiah 54:14. And it says, in righteousness you will be established. Tyranny will be far from you. You will have no fear. Terror will be far removed. It will not come near you. And I loved this one because fear is something that we all, actually, this just tied right into the question. I didn't even realize. Fear is something that we all deal with, but God did not instill fear in us. And he wants us to know that he got us, but we just have to trust. And faith is so hard because we can't see it. We can't touch it. And as humans, we want to go for that what we can see and that what we can touch, that what we can hear and like an actual, like hear it. And with faith, it's totally different. So just know to be righteous, to establish that tyranny is going to be far from you. At some point, this is going to be so far away from you that you don't have to worry about any sticks and stones that are thrown your way. Like none of them. All of it will be far away from you. And there's nothing to fear. None of it will come near you. So just know that, and I'll tell you from my experience, I have been terrified of what can come my way. And not one stone that has been thrown against me, not one weapon that has been formed against me has gotten to me. And from you, talking to you, Baron, like literally, you have had it all. You felt it. You've had those dark days. And here you are still smiling.
Yeah, you gotta. I mean, it was some tough days, but like you said, kind of reverting back to that scripture, that's a promise to you.
It is.
You live righteously. You do what's right. You move without fear. And that tyranny, that oppression, that's all going to be removed from you. It's like you're promised the victory and you're given the action in order to get there.
Yes.
So it's like that action is your works and the victory is your faith. Absolutely. So that faith without works, you got to have them together.
I love the faith without works because folks love throwing out their Jesus and blessings, and I'm praying and I'm blessed and highly favored. But let me tell you something. Keep playing with God and keep playing with God's name, because that's actually a form of narcissism. This religious and Holy Spirit part to kind of mask and use as another mask of, holiness to cover what you're doing. But from what I know, there's a God up there that's going to hold you accountable. I'm not going to hold you accountable. Baron ain't going to hold you accountable. God is going to hold you accountable. So keep playing with his name. See what's going to happen to you. It's going to be way worse than any of these street niggas could do to you. Any of them.
Most definitely.
So, Baron, how can people find you and learn more about you, like whatever you have going on?
Oh, my tag is Reach One Recovery. Right now I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. And each one I try to make it a little bit unique. So YouTube, you'll get the longer Bible-based videos. Instagram, you'll have the shorter videos and you'll have the posts. TikToks is the shorter videos and collaborations with other TikTok creators. So it's something for everything. Got the website out there. Reach One Recovery is the plug for all of it. Go out there and check it out.
That's amazing. We're going to get you on some type of podcast at some point in time, because your story is amazing. And again, not too many men speak on what they've been through. So I thank you literally from the bottom of my heart for being as vulnerable as you have, because I know that shit is fucking hard. We're done with the Bible words. I can curse again. Just God knows my heart. I know that shit is hard. So thank you for doing so. And I'll see you guys next week.